Alfie did a survey to find which soup was the most popular. The choices were tomato, chicken and mushroom. A quarter of the children chose chicken soup. 4 times as many children chose tomato soup as mushroom soup. What fraction of the children chose tomato soup? So we know that a quarter chose chicken soup, which means that 3/4 must have chosen either tomato or mushroom, and 4 times as many children chose tomato soup as mushroom soup. So we can draw 4 bars for tomato and just 1 for mushroom. So now we know that 3/4 were either tomato or mushroom. So to find the value of these 5 bars below, we can divide 3/4 by 5. Remember, to divide a fraction by a whole number, we multiply it by the denominator and keep the numerator the same. So 4 times 5 is 20 and the numerator stays the same. So each of these bars represents 3/20. We want to know the total for tomato, so that's 3/20 plus 3/20 plus 3/20 plus another 3/20, so that gives us 12/20. 4 large circles and 5 small circles fit exactly inside this rectangle. The diameter of a large circle is 17.5 centimetres. Calculate the diameter of a small circle. So we know that the diameter of a large circle is 17.5. So that means our other large circles are 17.5 as well. And if we multiply 17.5 by 4, that will give us the total length of the rectangle. So 17.5 times 4 is 70.0. So if we have a 0.0 on the end, we have a whole number. So we found that the total length of the rectangle is 70 centimetres. So 5 small circles make 70 centimetres. So we can find the length of one circle by dividing 70 by 5. 70 divided by 5 is 14. So all of these small circles have a length or diameter of 14 centimetres, because 14 times 5 is 70, and that we've worked out is the length of the rectangle. Here is a flag. What is the area of this flag? So the area is how much space a shape takes up. And we have a rectangular flag, and we find the area of a rectangle by multiplying the length by the width. So we need to work out 125 times 60. That's 7,500. So the area of the flag is 7,500 centimetres squared. Now 20% of the flag is a hexagon. What area of the flag is a hexagon? So a percentage is a fraction with a denominator of 100. So we need to find 20% or 20 hundredths of 7,500. So we could divide this number by 100 and then multiply by 20, but we can get our answer more quickly if we spot that 20%, so 20 hundredths, is the same, can be simplified to 1/5, and we find 1/5 of a number by dividing by 5. So if we divide the total area by 5, because 20% is 1/5, that gives us an area of 1,500 centimetres squared. In this diagram, R is an equal distance from P and Q. What are the coordinates of R? So we have point R here, and when we write coordinates, we always write the x coordinate first. So the x coordinate will be 50, because if it's an equal distance from P and Q, and point Q has an x coordinate of 100, the coordinate for point R will be half of 100, so will be 50. And then we write the y coordinate. We can see that P has a y coordinate of 30, so the y coordinate for R will be 15. It's an equal distance, so it will be half the size of 30, and half of 30 is 15. So R has the coordinates 50, 15. In this pattern, white hexagons surround shaded hexagons. How many white hexagons are needed to surround a line of 100 shaded hexagons? So here we have 2 shaded hexagons and 8 white hexagons. Here 3 shaded and 10 white, and here 4 shaded and 12 white. So if we only had 1 shaded hexagon, we would have 6 white hexagons. We can either imagine what it would look like, or we can see the pattern that the number of white hexagons is increasing by 2 with every increase of a shaded hexagon. So we need to find the relationship or the rule connecting the shaded and the white hexagons. The white hexagons are going up by 2, so we can write the 2 times table next to the number of white hexagons. And we can see that the number of white hexagons is always 4 more than the number in the 2 times table. So 2 plus 4 is 6, 4 plus 4 is 8, 6 plus 4 is 10, 8 plus 4 is 12. So that tells us that what we need to do is to multiply the number of shaded hexagons by 2 and then add 4. So for example, if we have 4 shaded hexagons, we multiply that by 2 to get 8 and then add 4 to get 12. And that means if we have 100 shaded hexagons, we can multiply that by 2 to get 200 and then add 4 to get 204. So we will need 204 white hexagons. W represents the number of white hexagons. S represents the number of shaded hexagons. What is the rule connecting W and S? Well, we've seen that to find W, to find the number of white hexagons, we multiply the number of shaded hexagons by 2 and then add 4. So we can write W equals 2S plus 4, because that tells us that we have 2 times the number of shaded hexagons plus an extra 4 to give us the number of white hexagons that we will need. Here is a flag. Calculate the area of the shaded cross. So the area is how much space a shape takes up. And we can find the area by splitting up the shaded parts of our cross. So first, we can find the area of this rectangle here. Now to find the area of a rectangle, we multiply the length by the width, and we can see that the length is 60 and the width is 10, and 60 times 10 is 600. So the area of this part here is 600 centimetres squared. But we need to find the area of the rest of the shaded sections. So we have a length or a width of 15, and we don't know what the length is. But we do know that the total length will be 40, but 10 centimetres of that is the part that we have in red. So the total length of the 2 blue bits will be 30 centimetres, because 40 minus 10 is 30. So we could guess that each of these will have a length of 15, so will be squares. But we don't know that the cross is right in the middle. But that doesn't matter, because if we know that the total length is 30, we can multiply 15 by 30, and that will give us 450 centimetres squared as the total of these 2 blue squares. So we want the total area, so we can add the area of the red rectangle to the area of the 2 blue squares, and that gives us 1050 centimetres squared. Two numbers are in the ratio 4 to 5. One of the numbers is 60. There are two possible values for the other number. What are the two possible values? So we have the ratio 4 to 5, and we know that one of the numbers is 60. If it's the number on the left of the ratio, we need to think 4 times what is 60? Well, if we divide 60 by 4, we get 15. So 4 times 15 is 60. So we need to work out 5 times 15 to find the other number in the ratio. And 15 times 5 is 75. So that's one possible value. But there are two possible values, because it's possible that this number on the right is 60. So then we can think 5 times what is 60? Well, 5 times 12 is 60, and if we multiply 4 by 12, we get 48. So the two possible values are 48 and 75. The distance from Calais to Paris is 320 kilometres. 5 miles is approximately 8 kilometres. Calculate the approximate distance in miles from Calais to Paris. So we can start by writing down what they've told us is the same. So they've told us that 5 miles is approximately, so about, 8 kilometres. And they've given us a number of kilometres, so 320 kilometres, and asked us to work out how many miles that is. So we need to think 8 times what is 320. Well, 320 divided by 8 is 40. So that means 8 times 40 is 320. So we just need to multiply 5 by the same number. And 5 times 40 is 200. So that means 200 miles is approximately 320 kilometres. So the distance in miles is 200. Annie swims on average 0.87 kilometres in 30 minutes. If she continues at the same speed, how far will she swim in 2 hours, rounded to one decimal place? Circle your answer. So we know how far she swims in 30 minutes. So to find how much she would swim in 1 hour, we could multiply by 2. But to see how far she will swim in 2 hours, we need to multiply 0.87 by 4, because 4 30 minutes is 120 minutes, so the same as 2 hours. So when we're multiplying a decimal, we copy down the decimal point and then use column multiplication, so we get 3.48, and that rounds to 3.5 if we're rounding to one decimal place. That's because if we're rounding to the nearest tenth, so to one decimal place, we look at the digit to the right, and if it's 5 or more, we round up. So because we have an 8, because we have 5 or more, we round up, so this 4 becomes a 5. So 3.48 is closer to 3.5 than it is to 3.4. So that's why we need to round up to 3.5 kilometres. Cheddar cheese costs £7.50 for 1 kilogram. Marie buys 200 grams of cheddar cheese. How much does she pay? So 1 kilogram is the same as 1,000 grams, and we know that that costs £7.50. But we want to know the cost for 200 grams. So we need to think, how do we get to 200 from 1,000? Well, 1,000 divided by 5 is 200. So we can work out £7.50 divided by 5, and that gives us £1.50 as our answer. Now there is another way that we could have worked this out. So if we know that 1000 grams is £7.50, that means to find 100 grams, we can divide by 10, and £7.50 divided by 10 is 75 pence. Then, to get to 200 grams, we can multiply by 2, and 75 pence times 2 is £1.50. Now, cream cheese costs £3.60 for 1 kilogram. Robbie buys a pot of cream cheese for 90 pence. How many grams of cream cheese does he buy? So here we know that £3.60 is 1000 grams, but Robbie only spends 90 pence. So how do we get to 90 pence from £3.60? Well, £3.60 divided by 4 is 90 pence, because 36 divided by 4 is 9. So if we work out 1000 divided by 4, that gives us 250. So Robbie buys 250 grams of cream cheese.